virtual office
Okay, lovely. Very nice.
that you see.
Very nice.
Maninder ji, we have with us Dr. Gurjinder Singh Chawla also, who is also alumni of our college. And he is a very...
I know him also.
Hello, Maninder, how are you?
Bilkul, very fine. Yes.
Fine. पहचान लिया मैंने?
हाँ जी, बिल्कुल, absolutely.
So we have with us Dr. Tajinder Sharma ji also, who is chairman of the Department of Commerce, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra. Maninder ji, today we are joining this program in collaboration with the Punjab Commerce and Management Association as well as Haryana Commerce and Management Association. So
Very nice.
whatever you will speak, that is going to be very remarkable thing for all of us. Though you will be speaking in the individual capacity, not in the capacity of the global director of the World Bank, but you will be speaking as a alumni of SCD Government College Ludhiana as well as the alumni of the Punjabi University Patiala. So the whatever knowledge you have stored in your brain because of your experience, that is going to enrich us, all of us. So I think we have 6:30 now. So I request Dr. Vikas Deep, who is General Secretary of Punjab Commerce and Management Association, to start the proceedings of today's live talk with Dr. Maninder Singh.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Am I audible, sir?
Absolutely right, sir.
Thank you, sir. Honorable Dr. Prem Kumar ji, President Emeritus, Punjab Commerce and Management Association, Mr. Maninder Singh Gill, Director, World Bank, Environmental and Social Framework, Honorable Dr. Pushpinder Singh Gill, Professor and Dean, Punjabi University, Patiala, Honorable Dr. Ashwini Bhallaji, President, Punjab Commerce and Management Association, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. I wish you a very happy Independence Day, the 75th Independence Day of India. Since last 75 years, India has made a remarkable journey. Like if we look back, if we go for the flashback, there are a lot of changes have happened, but still, like there are a lot of issues which we need to address aggressively with regard to our environment and social development. So to speak on this issue, today we have with us Mr. Maninder Singh Gill ji, who is Global Director for the World Bank's Environmental and Social Framework. Prior to this, Mr. Gill was Director of Social Development for the World Bank from 2014 to 2019, leading a team of about 300 social scientists committed to promoting social inclusive development in the World Bank's operational and analytical work. Before that, this assignment, he was the director responsible for the design and implementation of the World Bank's internal institutional reforms. Mr. Gill joined the World Bank in 1995 and has held several positions in social development sectors over the years, including sector manager for the social development units in the bank's Europe and Central Asia region and Latin America and Caribbean region. Earlier in his career, Mr. Gill worked in Indian civil services, where his assignment included being the chief executive of medium-sized town, then director of rural development programs at the district level and program manager for the resettlement program associated with the large hydro irrigation project. I am pleased and delighted to share that Mr. Gill is an alumnus of Punjabi University Patiala and SCD Government College Ludhiana. He passed out his MBA in Finance and Marketing from Punjabi University Patiala. Like before formally starting with the program, just to understand about the program and the organization, I'll request our President, Mr. Ashwini Bhallaji, to kindly present the theme of the program and give a brief introduction about the PCMA. Over to Dr. Ashwini Bhallaji, please.
Thank you, Dr. Vikas, for introducing Dr. Maninder Singh Gill, alumni of SCD Government College Ludhiana as well as alumni of Punjabi University Patiala, Department of School of Management Studies. Today it's a great honor for all of us that a great alumni of both these institutions is placed at the global as a global director of the World Bank and dealing with the environment, social and sustainability and development issues there. Today, we have invited him to share his views on social and environmental impacts on development, particularly with reference to India. So today we are celebrating the 75th Independence Day here, and we are celebrating it as a Amrit Mahotsav in our country. Though we have faced a very critical year affected by the COVID situation in India, and a large number of things were happening before that. But still, with the joint efforts of the people of India, with the courage to face these kind of situations, we are in a position to sustain even. 75 years of independence we have passed. There are a number of crucial issues which needs to be dealt with. With the development, number of social issues are cropping up, number of environmental issues are cropping up. As I was discussing with Dr. Pushpinder Singh Gill before the start of this program, that particularly Punjab is facing a very tough situation because of the lack of quality education, because of the lack of attachment of our young generation with the youth. Large number of people from the Punjab are migrating to get the education. Basically, they are going abroad in the name of getting the education, but they are absolutely going for permanent settlement there. And they are leaving our country. This is going to crop up number of social issues, particularly in future, particularly in Punjab. There are large number of studies which are conducted and a large number of applications we are finding for getting the visa to the Canada, US, UK, Australia. And a number of villages are now lying vacant. If in a village 100 houses has been constructed, 75 houses you will find that the old age people are living there, waiting for their young generation to come back from the Canada after getting the education. Initially, they were coming for after 1 year. Now they are coming after 3 or 4 years, and the time will come that they will not visit to their country. This is going to be a very critical point for Punjab. And if you go check back what amount of fee they are paying abroad for getting the education, and the data which is given by Dr. Pushpinder Gill in his recent article, if I calculate the data regarding in terms of the finances, I think this is going to be double than the Punjab government budget to sponsor the various developmental schemes. So this is going to happen. Apart from that, wherever the development has taken place, number of issues are cropping up regarding the pollution, regarding the environmental hazards which we are giving to our land, motherland, even to our natural resources, deforestation, desertification and commercial logging, converting forest into the agriculture, urban expansion, mining, overgrazing, forest fires, and similarly there is a water pressure on the our land, and water level is going very down, which is going to be a very crucial point for the future of agriculture in Punjab. There is a greenhouse gases, climate change, which are the very critical issues which needs to be dealt with the help of the experts. Because you being studying the whole scenario at the World Bank and also studying the scenario of India's situation, I think your discourse on this issue is going to help us how to come out with this kind of situation in future. So I welcome you once again on the forum of Punjab Commerce and Management Association and Haryana Commerce and Management Association. Welcome to your alumni. I especially invited Dr. Pushpinder Gill, the main very senior professor of Punjabi University Patiala School of Management Studies, and number of people from the Government College Ludhiana has also joined to listen you. So I welcome you again. I hope your discourse is going to benefit us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think, sir, you have raised the right issues. Like one is exodus of Punjabi youth to various countries, then water pollution, falling water levels, and soil erosion. I think they are the major issues which are hampering our environment and our social fabric. They are damaging our social fabric, these exodus. So not taking much of time, now I'll request our President Emeritus, Dr. Prem Kumar ji, to kindly make opening remarks for this talk before Maninder sir takes over. Over to you, Dr. Prem Kumar ji.
Thank you very much, Professor Pushpinder Singh Gill, Dr. Maninder, Ashwini, Vikas, Aman, and all my colleagues. I see Tejinder. It's a pleasure to be with you today, sharing thoughts on something which is critical for Punjab at least. See, there has been a talk going on about the environment for a long time. And then this young girl, Miss Thunberg, came in, and then suddenly attracted attention of the world. There is no doubt that environment is a problem. I'll focus and I'll request Maninder also to please focus on what is our immediate concern, the issues that Punjab is facing, since you are part of the global, and so you can think of applying this to the Punjab state. So Punjab is at a critical juncture today, both in terms of our society. Ashwini has hinted a bit on this, as an economy, as a polity, and in terms of the technological backwardness that we are likely to be pushed into. So they are, and other related issues. So what we need probably is a new framework. I would say, I wouldn't mind saying it, that let us talk about Punjab at 100. We have, I was part of a mission of CIA, which was called Punjab 75, this rate 75. We have not done much. And our economy, polity, and society, all the three major, and technology, I would say, all four critical dimensions of the state have actually gone down. We need to develop a new model of Punjab for the coming years. As Maninder earlier pointed out, the migration of talent from Punjab is a matter of serious concern. The outgo in terms of foreign exchange is not much of an issue. This money will anyway come back over here. My main concern is the unsustainability of the state that we are headed to. And it is high time that people like Maninder come in and put their inputs for policy making in these directions. Apart from this, this being a leadership series, there is a major leadership deficit. And this leadership deficit is not only visible in Punjab, it is all over the world. Whichever country you see, there is a leadership deficit. And Punjab particularly, the quality of our leadership, and as a consequence, the quality of our governance, and then the ramifications of poor leadership and governance on the various aspects of our civic life, they are actually taking us back. When I was a student at Government College in 1975-76 studying economics, and I followed, I think, Maninder, I joined the faculty as associate professor at Punjab University, Patiala in 5 December. So when I was a student, we were on top of the GDP table. And today we are probably 7th or 8th. And many of the smaller states have gone ahead of us. The 12 years of terrorism also put a major setback to Punjab. So, in nutshell, the community, I would say, or the Punjab as a state and the Punjabis as a community, probably need to come together on a platform, think of reimagining is a buzzword or a cliche these days, but I would say develop a new model of the state, which is managed by rule of law. We are a highly violent society, highly might is right kind of a working environment. So we need to discover the rule of law. We need to discover an economic model. We need to take care of the society so that we are not lost as Punjabis in Punjab, although we are prospering all over the world. With these random thoughts, I welcome Mr. Maninder Gill once again. I am very happy that one of us is actually guiding the world in a very critical area like environment and sustainability, and all the colleagues who have joined from all walks of life. And we let us listen to Maninder, his analysis of what is happening on this side of the globe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Like, you have raised the right concerns, and like, we need to build an economic model for the state, especially for the Punjab. And like, taking over from all this, I'll request now Maninder ji, Maninder Singh Gill ji, to please take the talk forward. Now I'll request Maninder Singh Gill ji, the keynote speaker of the day, to please share his thoughts on like our environment and social framework, development framework in context to India, and especially like if we can address the issues to related to our state of Punjab, sir. Over to you, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Vikasdeep. A big thanks to all of you, to Dr. Balla, to Dr. Tejinder Sharma, to Dr. Prem Kumar, and all other friends. I'm really delighted to be here to get this opportunity. And especially, since this has become a surprise forum for me to connect with old friends, that gives me, double the pleasure. Last time, so I will use today as a restarting point of our friendship, close friendship with friends with whom I have met after a long time. And of course, we'll make many new friends today. Also, I was trying to remember the last time I was in such an august group was probably sitting in a classroom and being very nervous and scared of, people like you, just making sure that, I am doing well in my class and I'm, all set for the test that I was about to take or an exam. So I really feel very, privileged to be in such an august company. And also, I think all of you on this call are more knowledgeable than me on the issues I'm going to talk about. And I may have a little bit more exposure, but no one knows about these issues more than all of you. So this is going to be more of a conversation and a discussion. I may have some initial thoughts, but what I would really request is that we make it more of a conversation. And in fact, given the importance of the topic, I'll be very happy to continue engaging in the future as well, not just, for this discussion today, because this is my own future and the future of our state and country is at stake. So I'll be delighted to contribute in whatever way I can. I was also thinking, there are, whether it's reimagining, Punjab, or it's, reimagining India, or, where we want to be at the 100th year of independence. So there are a few groups that have the ability to bring hope and to bring change. And this is that group. You are the people and we are the people who can bring change. I think one thing we may need to pause and not do so much is to rely on, leaders. We are all leaders. You are thought leaders. You influence future generations. So in many ways, you are the most critical leaders if we have to bring about change. So I would also urge all of us to think about ourselves as the change leaders. So, as all of you know, India has made tremendous development and growth over the last 75 years, especially since the 90s when we had economic liberalization. We have had a remarkable amount of poverty reduction. Even extreme poverty was 55%, or poverty was 55% in 2005, and it's now less than 25%. So there has been a big improvement in absolute poverty. We now have 84 million, or about 8 crore people who are, or 6% of our population, which is living in extreme poverty. So there's been a big reduction in poverty, which we should all be proud of. But we should not be complacent, because a lot remains to be done. The inequality which exists in our society hasn't changed. And in fact, quite, sort of depressingly, it has become worse. The difference between the richer strata and the poorer has increased. If you look at marginal groups or tribal groups, or even I don't know how much data there is on friends who are characterized as belonging to scheduled castes, whether there is a big disparity there. But there is a lot of difference between the rich and the poor. Top 1% today earn 25% of income in India. Just 20 years ago, it was 11%, or 30 years ago, actually. So, in fact, we are going down the scale as far as equality is concerned. Top 10% earn 56% of the income, bottom 10%, 3.5%. And this is only income. And when you look at wealth, the divide is even bigger. Richest 10% have 80% of the wealth in our country. And perhaps you would already know that we are the second most unequal country in the world after Russia. So we have so much to be proud of, and yet we have such immense homework in front of us just by how much inequality our growth has created and exacerbated. Now, what I want to talk today is not so much about income, because income is not the only measure of development. It's the quality of growth, which you measure how socially inclusive it is, how environmentally sustainable it is equally important. In 30, 40 years ago, if you talked about environment, even in my own house, I would ask my own father 30, 40 years ago, when there was this plan to plant trees, so all over India. And I asked my father, I said, why are we wasting time planting trees? Shouldn't we be doing more useful things? And he had to explain to me how trees are important. But environmental issues were a little bit remote to us 30, 40 years ago, when we had a water table which was 5 feet deep. We had greenery all around. We had cities in which there was very little traffic. So it is remarkable how environmental issues are now knocking at our doorstep and are actually inside our house. So we don't need to explain why environment is important. We can feel it every day. We all know that growth should not come at the cost of future generations. So all of you would remember the clean air in whether it's Patiala or Ludhiana or Chandigarh or anywhere, more organized traffic, clean water accessible, much more easily. And we just think somehow, even as an Indian, and then I joined the civil service, and again, I confronted the same issues, many of them much more challenging in Maharashtra. That's where I was for 7 years before I joined the World Bank. So in my mind, I just thought that this is the price of development. This is what happens as you develop and grow. Things just become like this. And then one thing I learned traveling around the world and working around the world is that it does not need to be like that. There are countries which are poorer than us, which have more density, more problems, which have grown in a very different way. So, you have, I don't know how many of you know, a country which became famous for genocide, Rwanda, which is a really poor country, and Rwanda and Burundi became infamous in the 90s for the genocide there was. If you go to Rwanda today, you will be just struck by how their capital, Kigali, must be among the cleanest cities in the world. I can bet it's cleaner than Tokyo, which prides itself to be a clean city. Kigali is cleaner than Tokyo. If you drive around Rwanda, it's greener than any place you have ever been to. Their government hospitals, I can bet, are cleaner than our Apollo hospital. So it's just remarkable that it is possible. That was a big, we just think that, oh, this is what happens, as countries become richer, there are more money, more goods, etc. This is what happens. It need not be so. We also say our population is our big problem. Any country that has a big problem will have these issues: traffic, noise, dirt. Again, it need not be like that. Many of you would have, some of you certainly would have been to China. You see cities of 8 million, 10 million. They don't have the kinds of problems that we see in our cities. So just to say that a different way of growing is possible. So we should not think that things just have to be like this. So reimagining Punjab, India, and the world is possible. And we will need to deal with this very large scale rural-urban migration. Even if our young people don't migrate abroad, which I really hope they don't, or migrate in smaller numbers, we will need to create better conditions for them. So including better transition from the agriculture economy in a more orderly way. If they can get job skills and jobs which are reasonably well paying, perhaps they will not migrate. But if the alternative we offer is that just stay with low quality education, low level of skills, low paying jobs, then if I were one of them, I would certainly do what they do. I would try to pay, I would try to sell off my land and try to get a better education somewhere else. So I think it's not so much them, it's us and the conditions we create as a society that we need to think about. So that rural-urban migration is going to be critical for environment, for social aspects. If they didn't go abroad and they had continuing discontent, it'll come out in other ways. There could be social unrest, there could be social tension. So that transition is something we need to think about much more carefully. And as we do this, we also need to think in urban areas about urban planning, space for lower income groups. We have massive expansion of cities. We never think of where are the poor people going to live? Those who help us in the houses, or who have low paying jobs, or who are, rickshaw walas, where are they going to? We don't have any room for them in our urban planning. And that's why, even if you see civil lines in Ludhiana today, and then you go to one of the outer newer localities, you will see a stark difference. So how come we were doing such a better job 60 years ago of urban planning, and somehow we let go of that more recently? And air pollution, already you referred to that it's the biggest health problem, or the leading indicator of health problems is pollution. It's an environmental issue that has the biggest impact on health. And again, we will need to do something about this. You already mentioned pesticides, rise of cancer, river pollution, river runoff pollution due to pesticides and other chemicals, and effect on downstream populations. So we will need to think about how we can do a better job of this transition from agriculture. This group here can play an important role in that, because imparting skills which are relevant for the economy, relevant for growth, is something that we owe to the young people that are in our state and in our country. So that's where asking businesses, asking potential employers, what kind of skills are you looking for? So it's remarkable. We have millions of graduates coming out, and you talk to a potential employer, they will say they are struggling to find people with the right skills. So just doing a better job of matching the skills with the education, making sure that we are providing higher level skills, that's going to be critical if we have to avoid mass, if they don't go abroad, there'll be mass exodus to cities, causing environmental damage, causing unrest. So that's perhaps a topic we can continue to discuss in the future as well. Now let me turn briefly to social issues. So again, in social development, we refer to the term inclusion, and it's the process by which a society improves the terms on which individuals and groups take part in society in a way that improves their ability, opportunity, and dignity, and especially of those who are disadvantaged on the basis of their identity. So if you are from a certain caste or a certain religion or a certain class or if you are disabled, or if you have a different sexual orientation, so how to make sure that you have the same access, the same opportunity, the same dignity as anyone else. So that's how you measure the social inclusion in a given society. And I think the main job of the government or official agencies is to level the playing field, because markets do a lot. Even on this call, there are colleagues who would come from private institutions which have the ability to charge the commercial fees, and then they can provide education or other services can be provided, whether it's water or toll roads. But then there are some things that only government can provide, and which is to the vulnerable and the poorer groups. So in a way, it's important that governments play the role of leveling the playing field. Their job is not so much to lift up those who have access to markets and ability to tap into markets, but the others. So in education, it's the quality of the government primary school that needs to be worked on, not the quality of the convent school in Ludhiana, which I went to, which of course can always do better, but that's not what we are aiming towards. It's what happens to the Khalsa school, in 1 mile from my home, where I would never dream of sending any of my children. So, and which is fine. I don't need to send my kids there, but we need to make sure that that's where people are leaving those schools with real good education, good skills, so that they can be equal members of society. So that's just the point about government playing the role of leveling the playing field. And then it's access to spaces. And there it's an important topic for all of us to reflect upon. So it's unfettered access to all members of society. And India is pretty remarkable, and Punjab even more so, is in how we have, it's a fettered, or fettered is the term you use when someone is in chains. So we have fettered access of women to education, to economy, to markets, and it's pretty remarkable that India it's one of the lowest female labor force participation countries on the planet. 20% of women in India are either employed or are looking for employment. Only 20%. 76% of men are employed or are looking for employment, and this is one of the lowest rates on the planet. We are in the bottom 10 countries on the planet in terms of female labor force participation. So here you have 50% of your sisters, daughters, mothers, and you've shackled them. You've said, somehow the society has, what's going on? Why is it happening? That's for us to figure. But it's a rate which you can compare with places like Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iran, and other places. And it, to an educated, proud Indian, it doesn't make any sense. So that's something we need to really figure out and work on. China, it's 60%, unlike, and I remember I started working in China in 94. That was my first trip. And I went to an official dinner in Beijing. And as we were leaving the dinner, I hailed a taxi at 11 p.m. at night. And I was just shocked. When I sat in the cab, I looked at the driver. It was a 26, 27-year-old girl. who was driving a taxi at 11 p.m. in Beijing. I didn't know what to say to her because I had never thought I would ever see this anywhere. A few days later, we were in another province and there was a traffic jam. So all of these truck drivers came out and they started walking, what's causing the traffic jam, as would happen anywhere else. Half of those truck drivers were women, and it was at night. So that made me realize that there is something that, why is it that as an educated Indian in the 20th century, this shocks me. So this is something for us to think about. And it's not just about, that, and remarkably, again, that's something which even the World Bank is having a hard time figuring out, that more educated our women become, the labor market participation rates falls. So the more educated women are in fact less willing to, for some reasons, go out and work, then the more educated are less willing than the less educated. The other thing we have to think about, which is related, according to research around the world, not in India alone, is how safe women feel in public spaces, how they are treated when they go to work or they are traveling or they are studying. And things like gender-based violence or gender discrimination, it reflects, and it reflects in ways that are subtle, so we may not even be aware that we as a society are in fact we are demonstrating gender discrimination. Again, this is something which I would want us to reflect upon. Then the other point I wanted to talk about is how power and connection play a role in how we operate as individuals. And we rely so much on each other and on who we know rather than on institutions who are supposed to do what their role is. And all of us, me included, so when I go to India and I have some work, I don't think of just going to the institution where I have work and asking them. I would look for who do I know who can help me among friends. And it's so much ingrained into my thinking that it's remarkable. And when I came here, in my first week, I needed a driving license. So I asked one of my good friends who was an American, and I knew him even before I joined the bank. I said, well, I have to get a driving license. Do you know someone in the Department of Motor Vehicles? So he said, what do you mean? I mean, I know people, I have some friends, but why do you say it in the same sentence? So I said, no, I need a license. So he couldn't even understand my question. And so I just thought that that's how I got my first driving license in India. I just, had called a friend who just organized everything. So just to think how remarkably distant we have come from institutions and how much we are relying just on each other. The first thought that came to me, I must confess, when I joined the IAS, was not that now I'm going to change all the institutions. Yes, I said that, but that was a second thought. The first thought was, I don't need to knock on any institutions anymore because I have privileged access. That's the first thought that comes to your mind. And if my daughter, I have two daughters, but if my daughter had to get her driving license going to the office in India where driving licenses are issued, and if I would do everything I can to make sure that it becomes an accessible, open, safe office. But since I don't ever need to do that, I don't need to worry about reforming that because I'm never going to use it. So it's pretty remarkable that those of us who have the ability to change institutions actually have the least incentive because we don't rely on those institutions. We have privileged access through other means, how we get our needs fulfilled. So I think, that's why, one thing we thought of, we just mentioned that let's think of what policies, and in my thinking, if you look at our policies, they they are world class. I don't think we need to work on policies so much. I think it's more on implementation, and it's more on behavior. It's attitudes. It's what we bring to, to society, to the community that we are in, and how we behave and act. That's more important than policies. I haven't seen. Of course, you can always work on policies and improving them and reform. An amazing amount of effort is going on in every sector. And in fact, the World Bank does contribute whenever asked to play a role in helping do the analysis. But then as an Indian or as a citizen of Punjab, I see a much bigger gap or need in terms of behavior and attitudes and implementation of those policies, and not the policies. I think those are quite fine. So not that I have any solutions at all. Maybe that's more of a discussion, but I do believe that citizens and we as a community, we can do a lot. I think India is a big country. To think that everything will be solved by a handful of officials, I think it's a bit flawed thinking, because yes, they need to do better, but we need to work on making them do their job better. And in the process, we have a huge responsibility and role. We can model so much of what we are talking about today, just by our individual behavior, how we relate to those around us, how we treat women, how we treat people from a different caste or a different religion or a different sexual orientation or a different country. I think we can do a lot. Also, we can do things like what we are doing here. This group is an organized group which comes together, shares ideas. We can convert these kinds of groups also into action groups which engage with the government, with the official side, bringing ideas, whether it's in a village or in a town or city or state, but going as organized groups and helping think through problems, because no government official knows or politician knows what my needs are of my locality, my village, my mohalla. No one knows them better than I do. But how do we engage them as groups so that we can exercise that healthy pressure, which both gives us a role of an agent and we do some of those things ourselves, but also we demand accountability from those we have placed in power. So that's something which there is much more organized citizen group engagement in other parts of the country. I'm sure there is a lot in Punjab, but I was again struck when I went to Maharashtra. There is a much bigger tradition of community action, organized group engagement with governments. I was, my first week as SDM, this group of, slum dwellers in Pune came. They talked to me like, more, not even like an equal. They were talking down on me because I said, oh, give me 2 weeks. They said, no 2 weeks, sir. That's what the last person also said, and he left without doing our work. That's not good enough for us. Can you please give us more specifics? I was not used to that. And then I realized that it's just, as a society, they are much more used to making government accountable and not just treating government like you are someone on a pedestal, which, somehow will give me, out of generosity, what I need from you. I think so exercising, and in a way we'll be helping them by making them realize that they are accountable to the people they serve. So I think groups like this can play a big role. So let me just conclude here, and those are just some random thoughts. I like that term, which are based on my observations, my work around the world, and then trying to see how they apply to India and to Punjab. But as I said, a wealth of knowledge, experience, wisdom lies in this group, and I am here, more to learn than to say anything which is original. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Before I request Dr. Pushpinder Gill ji to say some special remarks, Anybody in the group, sir, do we need to have some conversation with the sir on this topic, or can we proceed further, Dr. Bhalla?
Yes, Dr. Saab, I have one question before Dr. Pushpinder gave his remarks. The very important question is that you have rightly said that in India, there is no problem of framing the policies, but it is the problem of operationalizing the policies. And secondly, as a responsible citizen, the community engagement is, I think, somewhere missing in our country. So having an access to the spaces, this is a very big issue. You have worked as a bureaucrat, as an IAS officer in India, so you may have witnessed the officers, particularly bureaucrats, they don't treat the society for engagement. They see that we have the privilege to talk to them. Whenever we will feel that we should talk to them, only then they will talk. So it's rightly said by you that there is a need of citizens and community force which needs to be proved into. So my question to you is, sir, how to build the environment of community engagement from the side of the people and from the side of the people who are going to engage them?
Very good question, and not an easy one. So it's it's remarkable that it depends so much on the culture, history, traditions, background. And I mentioned to you how my move from Punjab to Maharashtra was such an eye opener, because no one treats an IS officer in Maharashtra the way I saw. Now that was 35 years ago, but what I grew up thinking about and treating officers, no one treats officers like that at all. So initially it's very, you feel very bad about it. Then over time you realize this is the way the society is supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be lording over them. I'm here to serve them. So I think a few things. One, first thing is coming together so that there are strong citizen engagement groups, whether they are at any level, whether village, community, mohalla, town, and professional groups like this. And then reaching out. I think it is important to change that tone of that engagement, and it is the tone. Now, one thing I have, there was one friend of mine who was municipal commissioner of Pune 15 years ago. So he created a group of, he wanted to see how to reform Pune and how to improve Pune. So he created a group of 15, 20 respected professionals from all walks of life, academics and labor union leaders and every strata was. And then he engaged them and he said, this is what we have to improve Pune in over 10 years. What can we do? There was one rule of engagement of that group, which that none of those 20 members would bring a personal issue to the municipal commissioner. So which I found pretty remarkable, because, we also engage. I engage with many, we are more interested in engaging at a personal level. That, I have this land matter, I have this license issue, I have this case, which is natural because our systems don't work in routine. So we have to do that. But engaging with them as a group and not as individuals, not that, okay, now that I have access to these people, then we say, okay, could you please help me with my water connection or something? That's a self-defeating thing. Then the person also realizes that they are not really. So I think that's one place to start. I would, I would reach out and I would say, we want to have an ongoing discussion. I would make it a discussion of equals. I would not be I would be very courteous, but I would not be overly deferential and, making them feel that it's their job. We will be helping them if we make them realize it is their job. So it's not that, we are disrespectful or anything, but I think that tone has to change. And it's remarkable how it's one country, we are celebrating 75th. You go to Maharashtra, you go to an IS officer's office, the whole tone of the discussion is completely different. the person who's sitting opposite is questioning and in fact having a tougher tone than the person who's responding. And I did that from morning till night. I had to behave very, very differently. So, anyone, I had my batchmate, they would come to Pune and, spend time with me. And they're first coming from Punjab, they would say, you guys don't look like officers. You're behind. I said, no. Maybe you don't look like officers. Our job is here to serve these people. But they didn't see those trappings of power and, that the way. So they said, oh, you guys don't even look like ICE officers. You look like some, very low level officers, which was remarkable. And they didn't realize that something is wrong, maybe on their end, not on our end of things. So it's not an easy question. It is a question we do a lot of work on. And in fact, the way you simply said, okay, where to start? I will do some more homework on that and I will get back to you on that. Because I think if we have to reimagine, then we have to reimagine those relationships, those, dynamics. If we don't do those, something has to change for things to change. If nothing changes, how will outcomes change? So let's think about that. I will do some homework and I will get back to you as well.
Exactly, rightly said, sir. I think at the education level, you have talked about that how bureaucracy respond in the state of Maharashtra or wherever you have visited, because they understand that the people's anguish need to be managed very safely. So that's why the people on the other side are aggressive and you are politely listening and responding to that. I think the concept of community engagement and community, how to come together, these things should be taught at the school and college level also. We are just teaching to the students regarding what are their rights and responsibilities in the civic education or in the subject of social science. But we are not teaching them, if they don't get their rights, how to collectively bargain with the administration, how to deal with such kind of situations. I think these kind of creative and innovative thoughts should be imbibed in our education system. Only then it will help. And it will avoid the various kinds of agitation which are going on small and petty issues and save the time of the administration also. Sir, my second question to you is...
Dr. Palla, if you allow me, I have to join another webinar. If you allow me to say a few words, then you can have your question session.
Yes, sir. Continue, please.
And can I?
Yes, Dr. Sir.
Yes, sir. It's our delight to share, have your thoughts on the issue, sir. Over to you, right. Sir. Over to Dr.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Maninder Gill ji, Dr. Prem Kumar, and my fellow colleagues. In fact, the moment I came to know that Mr. Maninder Gill is going to speak, I immediately called Dr. Palla that I haven't seen him for a very long time. At least I'll see him today. Right? I never had a thought that I'll participate and speak, because I remember him acting as my mentor when we were together in the university. My elder brother Baljinder and Maninder, they were very close friends. I used to go with him to Ludhiana, stay with him, learn many things. He has been acting as my mentor before also. And when he talked about Pune, I remember I especially went to Pune to spend my vacations there. I stayed with him. We were staying in that flat. Then in the evening, he'll take me to that swimming pool and where we'll have a glass of beer and have fun. So that is what is important. Many ideas were coming up when he was talking. Many things, although these are very, very simple things, but we need to understand them in a thorough manner. There is a complete paradigm shift. There is a complete paradigm change. We all agree, we all understand, and we all believe in this. The same apple eaten by Eve, fallen on Newton, and created by Steve. see the change from where we have walked and where we are. We do not go through we generally, what we do is we go through the process, rather we don't grow through the process. If I talk about the social fabric or the social structure or the environment, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge before Delhi is the waste management. This is the biggest challenge they are facing, and we have started teaching, we have started courses that how to manage the waste. We never had such problems. We could not, when we were kids, we could never think that what the environment would be, how it would get polluted, how the things would change. And I challenge and I bet that the generation today will not be even able to name the trees which we have seen. Right? Even the bear, which we'll use to eat, there were 20 types of bears. Now this generation only sees the bigger bear. That's it. Nothing beyond that. And the medical values of those plants and the grown plants were such a good and very good for the health. The biggest advice to a sugar patient today is that stop eating wheat. When we were kids, we could never imagine that how an individual can survive without a wheat. Traveling from here to my village, I would find a huge, big number of kinds and types of trees traveling this 60-70 kilometers. Where are those trees? What the value they had, now we understand. Even if you talk about, we were talking about the community help. This social fabric is so changed. Somebody knocked at my brother's house when he was country head with Cadbury's, that here is the wedding card and please come for the marriage. My brother questioned back, sir, where do you live? He said, just in front of your house. So that is what is the problem. That is what is the change. So we will not be able to. So the question is, very important question which has come to my mind is, once Tata was asked that what do you do? He said, we are industrialists. He said, in the similar manner, we should try to be industrialists, create industry where we are not only focusing upon business. Rather, there are many things to focus upon where I need to concentrate, I need to understand. Now we say number of institutions, number of educational institutions, number of gadgets, number of things we have. We are producing, I'll be so weird to say this, it would sound so weird when I'm going to make a statement. We are producing illiterate. We, in our educational institutions, we are not delivering anything new. We are producing illiterates because they would start addressing themselves to be masters in business management. They would start addressing themselves to be engineers. But if I ask them ki cycle da puncture launa das diyo kiਵੇਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ engineer nu, they will not be able to understand, because the quality of education we are imparting is done with. The responsibility, it is only we are talking about society, the social fabric, the responsibility of the government, the responsibility of the state towards its people. Where is it? No medical, no infrastructure. We have a paid medical, paid infrastructure, and the paid education anywhere, everywhere. And one thing which, Gill Sahab, I will positively say very loudly, because why I want to say very loudly, a PhD with the NET qualified, NET is the National that eligibility test which we have in India now. With that test, the educational institutions are offering a lesser money than the domestic help what we have in our houses. So what kind of education they are going to impart, what they are going to deliver in their classrooms? So question is, if we do not manage, if we do not understand how things are going to be polluted, we say water harvesting is very important. Sade bore karwa dete hai, we are harvesting with it the earth with the chemicals, the industrial garbage we are sending down, and that poison is the cause of the cancer. Insecticides, the amount of insecticide, pesticides, all major importers of rice have refused because of the insecticide and the pesticide. So many issues I was trying to put down. So many things to understand, many things to talk about, but until and unless we would initiate and start individually that today I will not do any pollution, I'll take care of everything. Because while the most literate, the person who understands, even when I move out of this webinar, I'll go and start throwing bottles on the roadside. So that is let's be the first person, let's initiate, let's take that initiative to be the first. We understand that paradigm shift is there, complete mental revolution is there. It is the mindset. Let us look for an opportunity as an opportunity, not as an obligation. We always think that this is what is the obligation I have. No, take all steps, take all initiatives as an opportunity you have. If you would think in that direction, you are going to succeed. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Maninder Virji. Thank you for seeing you after a very, very long time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much. Same here. And let's keep in touch, please.
Yes, I'll
let's
stay in
call
touch
each other.
positively.
So nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. To sum up, your idea is, your message is, I am the change. So everybody has to say, I am the change. So मैं change हो जाऊंगा तो everything will change. Thank you so much, sir, for summing up the entire talk. Now, because
one quick thing I wanted to say, Dr. Vikasdeep, very quickly. Just
please,
Dr. Pushpinder put many ideas, so I'll not respond to those, and each one of them was,
So we have time. Please take your time, sir. No issues.
Yeah, just I wanted to say that having conversations like this is change itself, because in today's India and Punjab, just talking like this in a larger group, which is not like-minded people like us, people will say, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he talking like this? इनको की तकलीफ है ये. So just making these conversations normal is a great first step, because these conversations are not considered normal. So, I'm Dr. Satish Sharma, who you would know, all of you, or some of you certainly. He was mentioning to me a few years ago that he and his wife, they always give on someone's birthday, they will give a book. And he said in Ludhiana, he heard many people said, what a cheap guest, kitab leke aa gaya birthday te. So something, it's a cause for reflection on what we have become. So just having these conversations, making them normal conversations, will be a big first step. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, Dr. Saab. This is a transitional change in the attitude of the people. And the message of Dr. Gill was loud and clear. Absolutely. And he's writing in the newspaper, I think, off and on, and enforcing the government for community engagement so that these issues can be resolved. Hats off to him. So we are proud that he's our teacher also. That's why he's playing a role to awaken the government that these are the issues. So I think this start has already been done by Dr. Gill and all these people who are just joined on this group. And the basic purpose of these kind of conversation is to reach out to the government, that they should know how the people at the world level think about us, what kind of solutions we can have. So, sir, in just 1 minute, I will ask you my last question, because it is the observation of the many people that we are the agricultural state. And as Dr. Gill has mentioned in his various papers, that people are migrating from here and there will be nobody to do the agriculture. My opinion is that as far as the Punjab's agriculture is concerned, we are lacking behind in many ways. If we look at the various other countries, how they are performing their agricultural system. Basically, we are focused on 2 or 3 crops. We have stopped the professionalization of the agricultural. So that is the need that even our universities in Punjab, who are just devoted for the agriculture education, they are not playing their role. They are just focusing on wheat. They are just focusing on rice. They are focusing on sugarcane. But there are a number of other crops which needs to be told to the people, and they should be awakened and given training that how we can. Even we have seen the people in Punjab, which is very small in number, with 1 acre of land, they are even earning in the Freeport area. They are earning plenty of money by commercializing their crops and even innovative kind of agricultural system. So I think here we need to focus.
So I, not being an agriculture person, I'll not respond to that part. And fully agree with you that as a lay person, I think there could have been and still can be a different trajectory of agriculture in Punjab, going to more higher value addition products, not only crops, but also then processing and higher up the value chain. I think it seems as a layperson that we kind of got stuck in the lowest end of the value chain, which is just generating crops and producing more and more. So on the issue of, young people moving out of agriculture and doing and leaving the state. So it is a symptom. It is a symptom, and the diseases are multiple, of which this is the one symptom. So you will need to look at education sector. You will need to look at where the jobs are. Are we giving the right skills? How inclusive we are. The good thing about youth of Punjab is that they are ambitious. They want to do well. I said some very good things about Maharashtra. The one thing that I found very, not very encouraging. I was working in rural Sholapur. So the young people of Sholapur had very little ambition. They would not want to start a new, entrepreneur, a new factory or anything. Even if you give them a loan, they wanted lowest paying jobs, very little ambition. The great thing about our youth is they are ambitious. Now, if we are not able to service that ambition, then of course they will go elsewhere. So in a way, we are like, the society and the economy of Punjab is like a service provider, and our services are not good enough. So they are going elsewhere where the services are to their liking. So unless we have the kind of reform you're talking about, in agriculture and in education and skills generation and income opportunities, why would an ambitious person remain and just keep working in low-paying, low value-adding agriculture? So there's a lot to think about, and I'll also connect with my agriculture colleagues who work on India and then have a conversation with them about what's going on in Punjab, to both learn a bit more and also to make sure that they are making the right connections with the right agencies in Punjab. So I'll follow up on that as well, because these are all close friends, but it's just that I haven't connected with them on this topic.
Now, sir, if you allow me, can I speak on this?
Ji, sir, ji.
Sir, question here is, a farmer would be engaged throughout the year 30, 40 years back. Now they are engaged with the agricultural activities only for 10 to 20 days a year only for sowing to harvesting. The number of days they are involved. For rest of the days they are free, and because they are free, vela man shitani da kar. So they are look for such an activities, find such activities, kuch na kuch putha, everything they will find out, and they will be engaged and involved in this. Thank you.
Ji, thank you, sir. Thank you. Ji Vikas ji.
Thank you very much, sir. I think like a lot of ideas have come up, and we can have a lot of conversation in the future also in this issue. Now, like I'll request Dr. Tejinder Sharma ji, who is Chairman, Department of Commerce, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, and is President of Haryana Commerce and Management Association, to please present his concluding remarks. Over to you, Dr. Tejinder Sharma. Dr. Tejinder?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Vikas. Dr. Maninder Gill ji, the keynote speaker of the day. Dr. Pushpinder Gill sir, Professor Prem Kumar ji, Dr. Ashwini Bhalla ji, and dear academician colleagues, students of Punjab Commerce and Management Association and Haryana Commerce and Management Association. First of all, I think so we have reached a big benchmark by holding a discussion on an issue like this, and by inviting a person who is from amongst us and knows the world and can definitely help us in generating the ideas on how we can change. The change has already begun, as you very rightly said, because we have at least started the discussion, and started a healthy discussion. Started a discussion wherein we are not driven by some agenda, wherein we are not driven by some polity, but we are driven with one will. That will is that we need to give a better India for the coming generation. A better India than what we had inherited from our forefathers. And I think so, very rightly, looking at various dimensions of so many things which have been spoken by our learned speaker, and also the contributions made by Professor Pushpinder Gill and other speakers, the perspective that emerges is we need to have a systems approach. Systems approach wherein the education, citizens, polity, and governance, they really need to work together. Indeed, India has changed. There is no doubt about it that we have changed very fast. 74 years of our development have definitely made our lives better. Better in some sense, but at the same time, if you look at the overall quality of life that we are leading, probably the change is heading towards a vicious cycle. And we really do not know in which direction we are going to go in next 5 years, in next 10 years, and in next 20 years. Very rightly, it was pointed out that we have drifted away from our traditional wisdom. India had been the superpower for more than a millennium. India had been at the helm of the economic development of the world for over a millennium. Our development was sustainable development because we had relied on traditional wisdom which had emerged over ages, wherein it was a mix of economics and spiritualism and concern for society. When we drifted from that traditional wisdom, the result is that we got enamored by probably the more visible part of our economic development. And this is the reason why we are looking at short-term gains, why we are looking at what is going to give us, say, happiness on an immediate basis. And that's what has really made us more self-centered as well. And probably these are the subtle reasons why as a society, we have really not been performing to the extent to which so many other nations of the world have performed. Politics, systems, rule of law, definitely, you know, they are the result of what type of the government which we want. People get the government which they deserve. Governance is the result of our collective thinking. And I think so it is a time when we all really need to have a very strong introspection. Very rightly, Maninder ji said that governance varies across states. Cultures of cities varies, culture of states varies. If there is a variation in this country itself, I think so we from Punjab and Haryana can benchmark with our colleagues who are offering a better ecosystem for the economic development, who are offering a better sustainable approach towards development. And that's not very far to seek from. So this is what we need to go about. Also, the protective discrimination, which began with a noble idea of inclusion, has probably become a competitive populism. And it is a time when we really need to talk about it also. Now, the point was from where to start. The point is from where to start. I think so we all, being the people from education sector, we have a big role that we need to create aware citizens. We need more professors like Professor Pushpinder Gill, who can speak. The worst thing that has happened is that we have become indifferent. Either be pro or be against, but take a side and have a view on some issue. And don't just keep the view for yourself, speak about that view. When professors will speak, I think the world will listen. So that is the time we need to create aware citizens. As far as our education is concerned, we need to create aware citizens who have respect for law. Why we need to look for connections for, say, getting the work done from our institutions is probably we drifted from our respect for law. We look for convenience. And this is where our education needs to come into. We need to develop a holistic thinking in policy formulation. I think so we are heading towards a new education policy, which could be a starter, which starts with very noble thoughts, which starts with very noble ideas, but at the same time, it will depend upon how we really implement it and how we really create a class of scholars, how we really create a class of students who are not only proficient in the theoretical knowledge, but are also aware about the about its practicality, and are also having the skill to understand the world around them. We need to ignite their third eye, a third eye which helps them to understand their environment beyond what is visible. I would definitely compliment once again to Punjab and Haryana Commerce and Management Association for organizing such a program. And of course, yes, it is indeed a great pleasure to listen to you, Maninder, sir. My earnest request to you would be, sir, that let this be a beginning. Let this be a beginning of an association, because you are a part of us. You understand the ecosystem here, and probably the kind of ideas which you take back from us as well, right? They will help you to do the work at a platform where you are doing, and also it will help us in giving us the inputs so that we can do what as people on the ground to make a world better around us. Yes, indeed, it's a time, sir. It's a time when the future generation is questioning us. It's a generation which we do not want to leave for greener pastures. We want the generation to make India a greener pasture. And we know Punjab and Haryana can do it. They have done it in the past. They have a huge contribution to this nation. And I think so. It's only about developing, only about starting now, and we are sure we'll be able to the world which it expects from us. Thank you again for giving me an opportunity to be a part of it. And you always give me an opportunity to give the concluding remarks for the learned speakers. Thank you very much. And indeed, this food for thought is going to be very, very valuable for each one of us.
Gill sir, sorry. My father also wanted to say hello, Maninder.
Sir, uncle.
हाँ जी मैनू ये भी कहते मैनू भी दिखा दी मैं मनिंदर
मैं आके दिखावांगा नन्नू as soon as I am able to travel I'll come and meet him.
ठीक
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Like I understand, sir, you're being nostalgic, meeting an old friend, so that's wonderful, sir. Thank you, everybody. Maninder sir, like sharing your thoughts, giving a model for environment, like the right example from Rwanda, like the example of Pegali regarding the cleanliness of the city, like the green, the government hospitals. Like you have given like the word, if word is doing, we can do that. And especially on the social issues, like on the gender dimension, like examples from China, like talking about the cab driver and the women truck drivers. I think it's a great message that yes, and like top with a top up from Dr. Pushpinder Gill. Yes, the change, I am the change. So thank you, everybody. Look forward to have more conversations with you, sir. We have made a beginning, and let's keep it a continuous dialogue so that we can contribute something to build a sustainable society. Thank you very much, sir. Now over to Dr. Ashwini Bhallaji for vote of thanks.
So thank you, Dr. Maninder ji, for giving a very lively talk and sharing your experiences. Though you have said that these were the random thoughts, I think it was a structured talk for all of us. And you have also said that you will consult some other experts also on various issues and get back to us. So this is going to be a long relationship with you. So here I would like to thank Dr. Satish Sharma ji, our very dear friend and common friend with Dr. Maninder Gill ji, who has just joined us just few minutes back. He has joined us. So I'm not going to give you a formal vote of thanks. The formal vote of thanks will be delivered by Dr. Satish Sharma ji. So over to Dr. Satish Sharma for formal vote of thanks. Dr. Satish Sharma ji. Sir. Dr. Saab, unmute yourself. Yes. Ji, Dr. Saab. Dr. Saab, are you hearing me? ਚਲੋ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦਾ ਆ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਕਿਸੇ ਟੈਕਨੀਕਲ ਇਸ਼ੂ ਕਰਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਤੱਕ ਸ਼ਾਇਦ ਸਾਡੀ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਰਹੀ so we are thankful to Dr. Satish Sharma for giving us the opportunity to meet Maninder ji. So I can't share one thing that Dr. Maninder and his family has done a lot of things for SCD Government College Ludhiana's poor students. And we will remember you, sir, always. With your support, with your help, this is going to work wonders for the poor students, because this is just an example set by you. Many other people are coming forward after your response to this great cause. So I think while you are sitting at the World Bank serving there, but you are serving as an ambassador of this country, you are serving as an ambassador of SCD Government College Ludhiana as well as Punjabi University Patiala. So we will be having a long relationship with you, and we will continue to have a dialogue with you, to share experiences with you, so that we can get something to resolve the problems which are faced by our country, because our ambassadors are the great people. You are doing great work there, and your great work, if contributed in India also, that is going to do wonders for all of us. So thank you very much, sir. So I'm very thankful to Dr. Satish Sharma ji, Dr. Gurjinder Chawla ji, Dr. Vikas Deep, Dr. Pushpinder Gill, Dr. Prem Kumar, Dr. Amandeep, and many other people, and many of our students who has joined on the YouTube to listen this, because this link was only given to the professionals and the teachers and the like-minded people. Students were asked to join through YouTube. So thank you so much, sir. We will continue to have association with us. Have a great time. So thank you so much to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay,
Yes.
sir. So
Big
with
thanks,
your
sir.
permission, I'm going to wind up this.
Yes.